Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Andrew Alvarez, and I'm the Latino Conservative. This is the first of many morning shows that I'll be doing. And I'll be going over anything that I've basically seen fit, mostly political stuff. For those of you who've been following me, you know that. And first off, what I would like to talk about is what's not going on. So what's not going on right now is the COVID relief bill. It is still at a halt. The Republicans have tried to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi, but she hasn't. She has been ruling with an iron fist at her seat in Congress, which is the Speaker of the House. She is the second in line to the presidency if something were to happen to the president. So if President Trump is incapable of doing his job, it's Mike Pence. If he is incapable of doing his job, it is Nancy Pelosi. She is second in line. It's kind of scary. 2 heartbeats away from having Nancy Pelosi as the president. But I digress. So she has been holding on to this COVID relief bill, not doing anything with it, not negotiating with it at all. She hasn't spoken to the president about it. In fact, she hasn't spoken to the president since she ripped up his speech that he gave, State of the Union. She hasn't spoken with him at all, yet she's second in line. The person who is supposed to be working with him, trying to get our country up and going, is throwing a temper tantrum because she is not getting what she wants. She is the epitome of a socialist dictator. That's what she is, a socialist dictator. She's going to get what she wants at any cost possible. In fact, you look at her cronies in the Democratic Party in Congress, you'll see that it's evident. Every bill that is brought forward through Congress to a vote has every Democratic representative voting just like her. Every single time, no matter what the bill is. In fact, there was a bill proposed to offer DNA testing to parents and kids coming over at the border to make sure we could identify that parental-child relationship, and we can help get these parents and kids together quicker and easier. But there are now 545 kids without parents at the borders. But it's Donald Trump's fault. Orange man bad. Because he built the cages. It wasn't Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Even though the cages were built in 2014, 2 years prior to President Trump's presidency, he still built them. Donald Trump still built them. It's still his fault. She is trying to take this country into a socialist environment, and it's evident with what's happening in her own district in California, which includes San Francisco. You go to San Francisco and people poop on the streets without any recourse. You can go and commit a crime. You can steal, and as long as it's under around the $700 mark worth of valuables, no jail time. The police just go like this, which, by the way, are there any other police remaining there anyway? Because, they're working on defunding the police, which is a whole new story in itself. If you want to see the direction that Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party are taking this country under the Biden-Harris, or I should say under the Harris-Biden administration, if he were to win, look at Venezuela. Venezuela was a thriving country. It was flourishing. It was economically sound. The people were happy. They had a great oil industry as well. Hugo Chavez took over and shot it all to hell under his socialist regime. Now, people are leaving Venezuela and coming to the United States at the rate people are going from California to Texas. It's almost uncountable. In fact, we can't count. Because while we do have the legal immigrants coming over, we don't know how many illegal immigrants are coming over because they are not counted. But these are the people that are still going to be asking for benefits, who are still, the Democratic Party still wants to vote for them, even though they left the same party that they want them to vote for. USA Today fact checkers will say that socialism alone wasn't the demise of Venezuela. They'll say the oil industry was as well. So let's talk about that. Back to this COVID relief bill. One of the clauses in the COVID relief bill that has nothing to do with COVID relief is the Green New Deal, which would eliminate the oil industry, starting by fracking, by eliminating fracking. How many people do you know right off, especially if you live in Texas and Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Louisiana, that rely on oil fields, specifically fracking? I can name at least 5 at any given time. So what does fracking include? So you've got your frackers, you got your pumpers, you got that actually do the actual pumping of the water into the rig. But before they go there, you have concrete workers who put a concrete well, so to say, around the hole in the ground to prevent it from caving in. Before it even gets to that point, you have to have drillers. To have the drillers, you have to have your rig hands, your roustabouts. You have to have your drill manager. You have to have all kinds of people just to get the hole in the ground. Millions of people rely on the oil field. Not to mention the oil field workers themselves, the ones that are actually drilling and pumping water into the ground to stimulate the oil. Like my good friend that owns a cleanup company. She goes out and maintains the residence of these oil field workers and the office spaces of these oil field workers and cleans up after they leave so they don't have to worry about doing that. They are now free to work because of people like my friend Brandy. She goes out there and busts her ass each and every day. She herself has employees that work with her to make sure that the oil field workers can do their job and not worrying about doing another job, which is cleaning up. Because they're tired. They got to wear these boots 12, 13, 14 hours a day, out in the hot, out in the sun, out in the rain. Now it's coming to be wintertime. It's going to be cold out there. And there's no break from the wind. But once they're done with the site, once the cleanup crew has left, now the rig movers have to drive the trucks, move those rigs to another site, and guess what those rig movers are using? Diesel, which comes from the oil industry. You see, the Harris-Biden administration will take that away. The Pelosi administration would also take that away because they want to eliminate fracking to start off with. They would work it out. They would eliminate it. They would work it out, make sure it's all gone. They're making this country into a socialist country by that. And this whole COVID thing has been a great example of what a socialist America will look like. Just a sample, and just a tiny sample, because let's think about it. What socialism is basically everybody pull their money into one pool, and then the country, the government, divides it out where they see fit. I don't get a choice in what happens with my money. You don't get a choice in what happens in your money. So how many of you were unemployed due to the pandemic? No faults of your own. How many of you are on furlough? How many of you had to keep working day in and day out while somebody else was making more money staying at home than they were with the job? You were deemed essential. You had no choice. You had no say in it. You were deemed essential while somebody else was deemed non-essential and they were getting paid to stay home. Did that affect any of you? It affected me. I know that. It affected me in more ways than one. What about having that happen on a grand scale? It was already a pretty big scale as it was. You look at countries like Sweden that everybody looks to as the example of the stellar socialist country. They didn't shut down. They're doing fine. So if that were to happen on the great grand scale, full term, United States is now a socialist country, what's going to happen immediately? The people who figured out early on that they did not have to work to make a living, they wouldn't work. That'd be half of the country not working, while the other half is still out there busting their rump each and every day, day in and day out, to make ends meet. And pretty soon, those people are going to get tired of working. And then they're just going to stop working because they don't see any incentive to work harder than the person who is not working at all and still making more money, making a better living than they were when they were actually working. Where's the incentive in that? That's not the American dream. The American dream is not to sit home and do nothing. The American dream is to have your own piece of the pie that is yours, something that you can call yours, that you work hard for. Nothing comes free. Pretty soon, if enough people do that, this country that is already trillions of dollars in debt is going to be even further in debt, and we're not going to have a way out. There is a way out right now, and it's to eliminate ties economically with China. China has ties to our government. Believe it or not, like it or not, they have ties to our government. No matter which party you think has ties to it, even though certain laptops came out recently that showed evidence of the ties, China has ties to our economy. They own a lot of land over here. A lot of land that they could say they want to collect the debt on. I think it's time for us to sanction those, claim those as ours, because they have stolen our properties. They have stolen our intellectual properties. They've hacked our software. They stole designs for our F-35 fighter jet, the most high-tech jet out there in the world. The Chinese have an exact mirror copy of it. I don't know how they got it, but they got it. China is also a socialist country. They live and breathe to worship President Xi. Let's not go socialist, guys, even though you may not like the guy in office right now. Doesn't mean you don't have to vote for him. If you want our country to end up looking like Venezuela, then yes, go ahead and vote for President Kamala Harris and Vice President Joe Biden. Go ahead and do that. I don't want that to happen, and I'm pretty sure everyone else doesn't want that to happen either. There may be a select few. In fact, I will say there are a few, because if you look at the presidential ballots, there was at least 3 people running under the Communist Party. Go look it up. Ballotpedia.com will show you that information. My personal opinion, what's going to happen is, if Joe Biden were to win the elections, he wouldn't finish his first term. Kamala Harris, top cop Kamala Harris, would end up being the president before his first term is over, and she would appoint Nancy Pelosi to be her vice president. So you've got 2 people, president and vice president, both from San Francisco, Silicon Valley, where Google is, where Microsoft is, Amazon, Facebook, where all of those hackers are. And I say hackers because they are hacking the elections right now. They are influencing the elections. They are the Russian collusion. That's where Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris live. That is their districts. That is their home area. And you think they don't have ties to them? You think they're not reaping some sort of financial benefits from them? How can a person making $100,000 a year become a millionaire within just a few years? You can't invest that much. You can't invest $150,000 a year, which would leave you with $24,000 to live off of, and make that kind of money. You can't do that. It's impossible. There is nothing out there in the world to do that. You can't hustle that hard either. I promise you it is not possible. But just because you don't like the guy in office right now does not mean you can't vote for him. I'll put it this way. I've done business with people I don't like. I've missed out on business, and I refuse to do business with people that I do like. In fact, in the car business, we rarely sell to friends. They oftentimes end up going somewhere else because they think that we might be able to do more than what we can do. Let's say I have one specific car. Let's say I have a 2020 Hellcat. Special order, got some customizations on it from the factory. It is a sweet car. I've got 2 people that are on it right now. They came at the same exact time. One guy, he's pretty rude. I've caught him in a lie or 2. He's a jerk, actually, come to think of it. Has this weird dance, but he offers me $20,000 more than what the nice guy offered me. He lied to a little bit, but he was a little nicer about it. He likes to wheel and deal a little bit. He likes to say, "Come on, man." But he offered me $20,000 less than the jerk did. Now, there's no rights to either one of these as far as who gets it first. They both came at the same exact time. They drove up at the same time and they said, I want this car at the same time. They both wrote out a check at the same exact time, except one was $20,000 more and he was the jerk. Guess who I'm going to do business with? The guy that I didn't like. He offered me more money. I got to bring home more because I had more, as opposed to the other guy that offered me $20,000 less than he did. Now, in the car business, we call that as a count. Means I get a $100 mini. I might get a spin from the factory. And what that means is, the factory is going to maybe throw me a little extra cash on the side, aka the government might throw me a little extra money on the side, as opposed to the guy that was a jerk who just made my month's worth of commission. You tell me, which would you rather do business with? The guy that might lie a little bit, is kind of a jerk, dances funny, or the guy who's nice, touches little kids every now and then, inappropriately, I think, but he's nice. Who would you rather do business with? My name is Andrew Alvarez, and I'm the Latino Conservative.